Welcome to the Business Blueprint Podcast, where we take you on an exciting adventure through our triumphs and challenges and failures in creating and maintaining a thriving 6, 7, and 8-figure business. Get ready to dive into our strategies, decisions, and yes, even valuable lessons we've learned from our missteps. But that's not all. We'll also bring you industry-leading guests who will provide you with their priceless insights and wisdom. Stay tuned because the captivating journey of the Business Blueprint begins right now.
So one thing I really liked in 7 Levels of Communication was kind of showing you how to figure out what someone's disc profile is without, making them do a whole test or something like that. And this is actually a book that I've provided to everybody who's on our intake team, because they're the ones that are getting calls day in and day out, and just how you can recognize how somebody is and, be able to approach them and be a little bit more successful in that communication. What has been your sort of best way or best quick way to identify, oh, this is a high D. I better shift lanes, or, oh no, this person's looking like more of a C. I need to divert over here.
So the easiest question to figure that out is just ask them, hey, how would your best friend describe you? Are you straight to the point, social and outgoing, steady and dependable, cautious and perfectly accurate, right? They're going to say, I'm kind of all those, or I'm a bit of these two. It'd be like, no. If they had to pick one, which one would they say? Right? And then once you have that answer, you know which way to go, right? Straight to the point is the D. I is social and outgoing. Steady and dependable is S. Cautious and perfectly accurate is a C, right? And I mean, you guys are doing great work with that. I mean, I would say having, your intake people do that is fantastic. I would even have them notate it in, a file or something like that, like personality type or disc profile is a high D or high I or whatever, right? So that, the next person going in has an idea, right? So that, the attorney dealing with the client now knows, okay, this person's a high D. Right? Like, I need to just kind of come straight out, like skip all the nonsense about the weekend or friends or whatever, and just go, hey, what do we want to do? Here's the plan. We have court next week. We're going to be, we need to be there at this time. Here's what we're going to be going over. I need you to show up dressed like this or whatever, whatever it is you guys do. Right. And, or, if they're a high I and you're a high D, and you're just like saying that same exact sentence, like show up at court on this time at this date and dress like this, they're gonna be like, okay, all right, I don't know, like, and you may do a fantastic job for their case, and you may be the best attorney out there and get them the best result possible, but are they going to refer you? I don't know, right? Because they maybe felt like, I wants there to be some kind of relationship there, right? And they may be like, this person didn't really care about me. Same thing with the S, right? I was just another case to them. They told me where to go and where to be. And yeah, they got me the outcome I wanted, but yeah, because to grow your business by referral, you can't just be the best at what you do. You need to be the best at what you do and provide great customer service, to Dan's point earlier, right? So sometimes you don't even have to be the best at what you do. Just be pretty good and give great customer service, and you'll get some referrals. So
yeah, leading up to this, I remember that we had this idea that we were going to do disc profiles internally, starting with the management team and then work down, so that we could more effectively communicate across the organization. And so I was like, oh yeah, I did take a disc profile, and I was 60% D, 18% I, 9% C, and 13% S. Or 9% S, 13% C. So, as you were talking and you were like, hey, how's your weekend? I was like, man, I hate that. When people ask me about my weekend, You're like, well, how would your best friend describe you? I'm like, I don't have a friend. Like, I think that might be a red flag. Like, I no friends. Uh, but
Well, I
how
was
do you
going to say you
feel?
can also ask best friend or spouse, but
Spouse. Yeah.
depending on what you do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you may not want to,
But how do you
ask
feel? I
it.
mean, we focus a lot on as businesses on bringing new clients in, right? Because the money keeps the lights on at the end of the day. How about Mike Lencioni wrote about the four types of working geniuses. Ray Dalio wrote about that they would put like almost a play card for each type of employee so that you knew how to deal with them. How important do you think these internal communications and these internal, I don't want to say conflicts in a negative way, but sometimes we just have back and forth that can turn into a conflict just because we're so far apart on our disc personalities. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
I think it's huge. I mean, like I'll say it's one thing that we do at Atlantic Bay, which I love, is the fact that they kind of pair us with people that are like-minded in our personality types. Um, I've worked with processors before that are not high I's, and I am a high I, and they're maybe a high D or whatever, and I'm calling to just be. And they're like, "What's up, Chris?" And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, hey, how's it going? Yeah, just calling to check in on this, or that." And they're like, yeah, we're here and here and here, And I'm like, guess I'm wasting their time by calling and checking in on this stuff, And that's not what they mean or how they mean it at all, but you know the the tone or just how they communicate conveys something to the other person, right? Whether they mean to or not. I mean, they could love me, right? And that, but still be direct and straight to the point. And if I don't know that and understand that, it can be it can it can be a real clash, right? And it took like when I read this book and learned about disc profiles, I was like, there it is, because I had dealt with real estate agents before that were high D's, and I was like, man, they just do not seem to like me at all, And it was because I was not catering to their communication style, right?
I think you bring up a good point that it's a two-way street, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might recognize that you are a different category, right? Different style.
Mm-hmm.
And I can try to adjust my communication style to accommodate that. But then on the flip side, you also know that when you get something from me, okay, they're not being insulting or offensive. They're
Mm-hmm.
just a high D or they're a high C.
Mm-hmm.
Or something to that effect. So I think it really helps you in both directions, that sometimes you get emails and you're kind of like, whoa, who does this person think they are? Right. And
Right.
if you can kind of take that step back and have that level of understanding of, oh, this is just how they communicate, maybe there's some learning that can go into this, right? Maybe there's some
Absolutely.
training that we can incorporate, but also just having that understanding, that recognition of this is this person's communication style. They're not actually attacking me. They're not actually trying to insult me or something
Mm-hmm.
to that effect.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes all it takes is like, if you're a high D, right?
Mm-hmm.
You type your email and say you're emailing somebody that's a high I, you just type the body of the email and then you go back in the beginning and you're like, hey, happy Tuesday, I hope you're doing great. And then you go back to the end of the email, hey, thanks so much for reviewing this. You're a valuable member of my team. I can't appreciate you more. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. I hope you have a great day.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Now you hit send. That's as easy as it comes, right? Like, but when that person reads that email, they feel like, oh, wow, okay, this person gets me, right? As opposed to, again, if they're high I or S and you're just like, hey, where are you at with this? They're like, oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's the update, you know? So, it does matter how you communicate with people.
The emails,
Even internally.
right?
Do what?
Emails and texts, it's all and how you communicate. It was hard for me to shift because sometimes I felt kind of silly saying hi in an email, right? When I just want to be like, where are we with this? But I didn't mean anything bad by it, just
Right.
no. But the recipient, it was for me going throughout my career in management. It was something that was hard for me to learn because I was just like, oh man, don't really have to type hi. But you're right. It's how the person's perceiving or receiving it. So I've learned much better. And sometimes I slip and I'm like, oh man, I should have put hi, whomever, right? But it's just acting.
Dan, what's your DISC profile? Are you just a high D? What's your breakdown?
I think I'm a D and an I.
Oh,
yeah.
An interesting mix. I'm like 50-50 on D and C. Ooh. I don't need any of the I or the S. I can just erase those.
Straight to the point and detailed.
Straight to the point, and I want all the details.
Yeah.
Yes, I want
give it to me quickly.
But very quickly. But like in a spreadsheet would be nice. That's
honestly, if you could just send me an email with the spreadsheet in there, I'll figure out the rest.
Right. We don't really need to talk. No, I can just give me the number.
You don't need to put anything in the body of the email. Just send me the spreadsheet.
Yep. Yep. That's me.
I've been using ChatGPT to cheat with the other profiles. So I'm like, here's my profile. Could you write this like ChatGPT? Can you write this for an I profile? Yeah. And it'll actually kick out a pretty decent, because I had somebody send me an email the other day. Because of my personality, I had no clue how to respond. My response would have been like, that sucks. Yeah. And I was like, okay, ChatGPT, do your magic. Yeah. Chris, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Business Blueprint. And, you can kind of see as when you're going through building an organization at no matter what level you are, how important it is to communicate, right? The genesis of what you're talking about is paying enough attention to the people that you either work with or the customers that you're trying to serve to actually communicate with them in a way that respects them. And it's one of the hallmarks that I always tell people is it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what they heard. And so, when you're building a business, and I fall victim to that myself, I'm like, that's not what I said. It doesn't matter. It matters what they heard. And I think everything you talked to today about was how to listen to who you're communicating with, so that when you say something, you're more confident that what you mean to say is what they're going to hear. So I want to thank you very much joining us today. And, I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you have any questions about the 7 levels of communication, about how to communicate with somebody on a DISC profile, we'll put Chris's information and you can reach out to him. And I'm sure that he'd be more than happy to say, let me read that email again so I communicate with you effectively. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this insightful and entertaining, be sure to hit subscribe below and join us on social media to get more insight into what we are going through each and every day.